Shabbat Shalom, everybody. We are in 2 Kings chapter 11 today, roughly page 394 in the scriptures. We are going to see some more inter-kingdom shenaniganry, as well as another changing of the guard, literally, figuratively. Remember last week that Yehu just smoked a bunch of people, right? The whole house of Ahab and Jezebel and the whole nine. And then Yehu slept with his fathers, and they buried him in Shomeron. And Jehoiada, his son, reigned in his place. And the days that Yehu reigned over Israel in Shomeron were 28 years. Chapter 11. And Athaliah was the mother of Ahaziah, Ahaziah being one of the people that got smoked by Yehu. And when she saw that her son was dead, she arose and destroyed all the offspring of his reign, of her son's reign. Basically, all those who could inherit the throne. Why would she do something like that? Well, she's the queen mother. She probably had ambitions to run Israel herself, or at least to let her administrators run it so that she could be privy to all of the wealth and power that came with that position. Verse 2, but Yehosheva, the daughter of King Yoram, the sister of Ahaziah, dude who got smoked, the king mother's son, former king, took Joash, the son of Ahaziah, and stole him away from among the sons. So she's killing off all the inheritance, the offspring, but her daughter, the former king's sister, takes his son, Joash, steals him away among the sons of the king's sons who were put to death, from among the king's sons who were put to death. So they hid him and his nurse in the bedroom from Athaliah, and he was not put to death. And so the queen mother is trying to murder all of the offspring, but they hide this one kid away. And he remained with her, the nurse, in hiding in the house of Yahweh, the temple, for 6 years, while Athaliah was reigning over the land. Says a lot about Athaliah as far as her awareness of what's happening in the temple, that she didn't know that there was a newborn baby and then a toddler and then a 6-year-old in there. Probably wasn't terribly involved. And in the 7th year, Jehoiada, who was the priest, sent and brought the commanders of hundreds with the Carites and the runners, and brought them into the house of Yahweh to him. And he made a covenant with them, a pact, an agreement, and took an oath from them in the house of Yahweh, and showed them the son of the king. Now, this word Carite here, we should probably just camp on this a minute. Carite in this particular context means the guards, right? The house guards. But there's also a sect of Judaism called Karaite Judaism, and this is not what this chapter is referring to with the word Karaite. However, it's interesting, the Karaite Jews today, and I believe they began to come to prominence in the 8th century AD, they reject the oral tradition, the Talmud, and rabbinical Judaism, and do only what the book says. Interesting. Now, it doesn't mean that there isn't wisdom in the oral traditions, the Talmud, but what it does mean is that that is not the word of God. It's the word of men. And so, if you've ever felt alone in your efforts to do what the book says and only what the book says, know that this is not a new thought. The Karaites were all about this back in the day. Verse 5, so after Jehoiada makes this agreement with the with the guards and the commanders of hundreds and the house runners, these are like servants of the house of the queen, the king in this case, he brings them into the temple to make this agreement, right? And then he commanded them, saying, this is what you are to do. 1/3 of you who come in on the Sabbath to be on guard in the king's house, and 1/3 at the gate of Sur, and 1/3 at the gate behind the runners. Lock this place down. And you shall be on guard in the house, lest it be broken down. They're expecting some violence. They don't want the house destroyed. And the 2 detachments of you who are going out on the Sabbath shall be on guard in the house of Yahweh for the king. And you shall surround the king, VIP protection, on all sides, every man with his weapons in his hand. And whoever comes within the ranks, let him be put to death. And be with the king as he goes out and as he comes in. So now you are the literal guards of the child king. Meaning Joash. Joash, the 7-year-old. So the commanders of the hundreds did according to all that Jehoiada the priest commanded. And each of them took his men who were going in on the Sabbath and those who were going out on the Sabbath and came to Jehoiada the priest. And the priest gave the commanders of hundreds the spears and the shields which had belonged to King David that were in the house of Yahweh. So the priest outfits them, right? And what does he outfit them with? Any believer in Yah would be familiar with these spears and these shields that King David had made. And so now he sees a contingent of men who have armed themselves with the literal weapons of Yah, right? And the runners stood, every man with his weapons in his hands, all around the king, from the right side of the house, the temple, to the left side of the house, by the slaughter place and the house. And he, Jehoiada, brought out the son of the king and put on him the diadem, the crown, and the witness. And they set him up to reign and anointed him, and they clapped their hands and said, "Let the king live." And Athaliah, the mother of Ahaziah, the queen mother, heard the noise of the runners, the people, and she came to the people into the house of Yahweh, and looked and saw the king standing by a column according to the ruling, and the chiefs and the trumpeters were beside the king, and all the people of the land rejoicing and blowing trumpets. And Athaliah tore her garments and cried out, "Treason! Treason!" And Jehoiada the priest commanded the commanders of the hundreds, the officers of the army, and said to them, "Take her outside the ranks, and slay her with the sword, and whoever follows her." For the priest had said, "Do not let her be killed in the house of Yahweh." So they took a hold of her, and she went by the way of the horses' entrance to the king's house, and was put to death there. And Jehoiada made a covenant between Yahweh and the king and the people, to be the people of Yahweh, also between the king and the people, and all the people of the land. So they established this 7-year-old kid as king, and wipe out the queen mother. And all the people of the land went to the house of Baal and broke it down, and they completely broke up its slaughter places and images, and killed Matan, the priest of Baal, before the slaughter places. And the priest appointed inspectors over the house of Yahweh. Cleaning house, but now cleaning house in the name of Yah. And took commanders of hundreds, and the Carites, the captains, the guards, and the runners, and the people of the land. And they brought the king down from the house of Yahweh, and went by the way of the gate of the runners to the king's house. And he sat on the throne of the king. So now he's sitting on the throne. It's official, right? And all the people of the land rejoiced, and the city had rest, for they had slain Athaliah with the sword in the king's house. Jehoash was 7 years old when he began to reign. So Jehoash is the new boy king, okay? And Jehoash began to reign in the 7th year, chapter 12, of Jehu, and he reigned 40 years in Jerusalem. And his mother's name was Sivia of Beersheba. And Jehoash, the 7 oaths, or the 7 wells, Beersheba. And Jehoash did what was right in the eyes of Yahweh all the days in which Jehoiada was the priest, and instructed him. So as long as the priest was around, he took his lead from the priest, the boy king. Who'd have thought, right? This is the guy that got him on the throne. It's been a father figure to him likely his entire life. However, the high places were not taken away. The people still slaughtered and burned incense on the high places. And Jehoash said to the priests, "All the silver of the set-apart gifts that are brought into the house of Yahweh, the silver coming over each man's assessment silver, tithe, all the silver that a man purposes in his heart to bring into the house of Yahweh, Let the priests take for themselves, each from his friend, and let them strengthen the breaches of the house wherever there is a breach. The temple is starting to fall apart. It's been under attack. It's been under siege. Let's fix this thing up. So all the silver that comes into the house, all the monies we're collecting, we're going to use that to build the house back up. And it came to be in the 23rd year of King Jehoash that the priests had not strengthened the breaches of the house. And King Jehoash called Jehoiada the priest, and the other priests, high priest Jehoiada, and then the other priests under him, and said to them, "Why have you not strengthened the breaches of the house? And now do not take any more silver from your friends, but give it for the breaches of the house." It's like, quit using that money that you collected for your stuff and do what I told you to do with it. And the priests agreed that they would neither receive any more silver from the people nor strengthen the breaches of the house. So the priests were like, sounds good. Yeah, we won't take any more money from the people. We're also not going to fix the temple up, but we're not going to take any more money from the people. And Jehoiada the priest took a chest and bored a hole in its lid, like a tithe box, and set it beside the slaughter place on the right side as one comes into the house of Yahweh. And the priests who guarded the door put there all the silver that was brought into the house of Yahweh. And it came to be, whenever they saw that there was much silver in the chest, that the king's scribe and the high priest Jehoiada, came up and put it in bags and counted the silver that was found in the house of Yahweh. So now there's basically a free will offering outside of, a tithe box and accountability. It's being checked up on. They count how much silver is in there. And gave the silver, weighed out, into the hands of those who did the work, the contractors who were working on the temple, who had the oversight of the house of Yahweh. And they paid it out to the carpenters and the builders who worked on the house of Yahweh, and to the stonemasons and stone cutters, and for buying timber and hewn stone to strengthen the breach of the house of Yahweh, and for all that was paid out to strengthen the house. However, there was not made for the house of Yahweh basins of silver, snuffers, sprinkling bowls, trumpets, any objects of gold or objects of silver from the silver that was brought into the house. So they didn't use this money to make stuff with. They used it to pay the contractors to do the work. For they gave that to the workmen, and they strengthened the house of Yahweh with it. And they did not reckon with the men into whose hand they gave the silver to be paid to workmen, for they acted trustworthily. They weren't bargaining with these guys. Well, you said it's going to be $100. I'll give you 60. They weren't doing that. They were just paying them what they were worth, right? This is Torah. A workman is worth their hire. The silver from the trespass offerings and the silver from the sin offerings was not brought into the house of Yahweh. It belonged to the priests. So there was still a little bit of money coming to the priests, which I'm sure the priesthood was not terribly happy about, that they lost this income. Yeah. And Hazael, king of Aram, went and fought against Gath and captured it, and Hazael set his face to go up to Jerusalem. So Hazael, remember, king of Aram, he's like, I'm going to go beat the tar out of Gath. And he does, and he's like, hey, I'm here. Let's just go to Jerusalem. We're already here. We're on the warpath, homie. And Jehoash, king of Judah, took all the set-apart gifts that his father Jehoshaphat and Jehoram and Ahaziah, king of Judah, had set apart, and his own set-apart gifts, and all the gold found in the treasuries of the house of Yahweh and in the king's house, and sent them to Hazael, king of Aram. Then he went away from Jerusalem. So they made an offering to him, say, hey man, how about we just give you all this stuff instead? You don't have to attack us. You don't have to lose any men. We don't have to lose any men. Just here you go, an appeasement, right? And the rest of the acts of Joash and all that he did, are they not written in the book of the annals of the kings of Judah? And all his servants rose up and made a conspiracy, and smote Joash in the house of Millo, which goes down to Silla. For Jozachar, the son of Shemath, and Jehozabad, son of Shomer, his servants, struck him. So he died, and they buried him with his fathers in the city of David, and Amaziah, his son, reigned in his place. So, sounds like he was trying to do the right stuff, but his people weren't really into it. This boy king, who reigned for 43 years, and so put him right about 50 years old. And they said, I know what we'll do. We'll invite him down here, and then we'll stick a knife in his back. That's what they did. They killed him. Judah and Israel at this time are trying, some of them are trying to do the right thing, but there's still many people, a whole subset of the population, are still not behaving righteously to the point where they're conspiring to kill the king on the regular. There's a lot of bloodshed in this period here. And even these righteous men are having to deal with the unrighteous around them, the unrighteous within their midst. And clearly it's making it difficult for them to get stuff done. Hey, fix the temple. Okay, sounds good, boss. 23 years later, hey, how come the temple's not fixed? Hey, I don't know, boss. All right, that's it. All of this money that you've been collecting now goes to building the temple. Okay, sounds good. Hey, the temple's still not fixed. We'll appoint our own people over that. Okay, sounds good, boss. Hey, boss, you want to come to dinner? Sounds good. Oops, we accidentally killed boss. Put another guy in his place. Oh, there is only one righteous king, truly righteous king, and it's Yeshua. Praise Yah. Because people, including us, we all kinds of messed up. Y'all have a blessed Sabbath. Shalom.